What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So the other day, I think yesterday, I did my iPhone 6s Plus video and why I love talking about it and why I love the 6s Plus. But recently I was messing with, other iPhones that I own, and I was going to make a whole separate video talking about the iPhone 8, but I realized the iPhone 8 is so underrated. I feel like nobody even talks about this phone anymore. I feel like everyone just skips to the iPhone 10 and really the iPhone SE, the 6s maybe, but there's really no in between. Even the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus are kind of underrated too, but I feel like nobody talks about the iPhone 8, and even when it was released, it was kind of overlooked, and I think I understand why. And to kind of hit on that, you kind of have to understand the release cycle of when this thing was released. This thing was released, back in 2017, so almost 2 years ago. Next month it'll be 2 years when this thing came out, and when it was released, it came out with the iPhone 8, also with the iPhone 8 Plus, great phone. I like the 8 Plus as well. And those were pretty big upgrades, I would say, from the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus. Faster chipsets, glass back, wireless charging, improved build quality. And those phones were a pretty big upgrade, I would say, from the previous versions. But the biggest change and the biggest, announcement at that time was the iPhone 10, which brought Face ID, brought the notch, brought the bezel-less display, OLED display at that, gestures, no home button, all that craziness. And a lot of people kind of shifted their attention to the iPhone 10 at the time. And because of that, a lot of people really didn't look at the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus as premium, amazing top tier phones, because it was kind of overshadowed by the iPhone 10, even though the iPhone 8 and the iPhone 8 Plus were amazing phones at the time. And they were one of the best phones you could buy of that year. And it's kind of crazy because the iPhone 10, kind of shifted the focus on what the iPhones are going to be doing in the future. So that was a humongous reason as to why I think even at that time, the iPhone 8 was pretty underrated. But then when you come out to it, literally the year right after, that was when we started seeing all these bezel-less phones. We started seeing the bezel-less trend, even though the Galaxy S8 kind of originated it from early on in 2017. 2018, we saw a whole new design, whole different phones being released, and crazy feats of boundaries and all those things in the technology field. And at that time, when you look at something like a Samsung Galaxy S9 or a OnePlus 6, I think was at the time it was released, and then you look at the iPhone 8, you're like, man, there's a humongous difference on the way they look. Even though the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus were still extremely fast devices and everything, people were looking at those phones and be like, man, this thing is still not a good looking device. It still looks exactly the same as before. We need to switch over to a better looking phone or something. And I think the design in and of itself really set itself back. Had they made it look like, an iPhone 10, even though they really couldn't have, because they had to have a reason for people to, upgrade or stay below for the price or whatever. So I guess that makes sense in terms of a price selling standpoint, but the design had a lot to do with it, in my opinion, as well. But now in 2019, I think it's a pretty cheap option for a pretty good phone. We have brand new iPhone 8s in the Apple Store selling for $599. I believe the iPhone 8 Pluses are selling for $699 or $649, either or one of those. And those are for the base models. But in the used market, you can pick up an iPhone 8 between $300 and $350, or an iPhone 8 Plus from $350 to about $450. $450, I meant to say, and for an iPhone released in 2017, and that's not a bad option either. But again, nobody really talks about this phone anymore because it was kind of overshadowed and because of the design. And at the same time, interestingly enough, in the used market, that's even kind of a lot for a phone. The iPhone 8 came out in 2017, and that's kind of around the same price as a Galaxy Note 9, and in the used market at least, because I picked up my Note 9 for about $350, or it was less than $400. And in my opinion, the Note 9 is a much better device, but again, we're comparing iOS to Android and all that. But without a doubt, I think the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus are in a kind of a strange situation. They're underrated. They're still selling in the Apple stores. I'm sure people still have them. They still sell a lot of them, I'm sure, but it just seems like nobody talks about them. And I think it's a mixture to do with the price, it being overshadowed by the iPhone 10 and also the design. But I don't know, maybe I need to start talking about the iPhone 8 more to get people, on board with it. We need to start hashtag hype up the iPhone 8 or something. I don't know. That was so corny, guys. I don't know. And I'm not trying to sound salty about it either, but that was just one thing that I saw, and I'm like, man, even when I make a video about the iPhone 8, I don't even think it gets that many views compared to something like an iPhone 6s or an iPhone 7 or SE, which is really interesting. It kind of gives you a different perspective on things. So that's pretty much it. That's the one thing that's been on my mind for a couple hours. If you guys have any questions or you agree or disagree, let me know in the comment section below. Maybe I'm totally wrong, or maybe I'm just kind of making something out of nothing, but I'd love to hear what you guys have to say, but hit that like button if you guys enjoyed the video, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also, check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel. All those links are linked down below. I'd really appreciate if you guys could check it out. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.